Hello, this is Steve with Doublereno Woodworking. So I've posted in a couple of my videos that I'm ready to purchase a CNC router. And I've been doing tons of research for well over a month now, and I've got it narrowed down to these two machines right here. The LongMill Benchtop CNC MK2, which is an updated model they're just coming out with. I don't think they've even shipped any of these yet, but it's a new model they're coming out with here at the first of the year. And then the Onefinity Woodworker X-50. So I'm going to end up purchasing one of these things without ever actually seeing, touching, or working with one of these machines. And I'm doing all the research I can and trying to narrow down my decision based on all the information that I can find, either off their websites, YouTube videos, Facebook forums, all kinds of different stuff. I'm looking for everything I can find on them to help make a decision on which one of these machines is going to be best for me. And I'm making the assumption that the majority of people that buy one of these machines is basically they're doing the same thing. They're not getting hands-on one of these machines and try one out and try the other one out and see which one they like best. They're having to do the same thing. They're just having to research it and then make a decision on what they think is going to be best for them. So I'm also hoping through this video that some people that own these machines will give me some feedback, and maybe something that I was thinking is going to be an advantage for one machine over the other may not be. So I'm hoping I'll get a lot of feedback, and then hopefully this will help anyone else that's looking for one of these machines to help make it a better informed decision. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is price. And let's face it, price does matter. If we had an unlimited budget, we'd probably be looking at a Laguna or something like that, a commercial grade machine that's roughly $10,000 or something like that. But we're not. We're looking at these hobby machines. So the Onefinity, the machine right here, is with a controller. The Onefinity you can order without a controller, and so you can add an aftermarket controller if you want to. I don't know enough about it at that point to make a decision on what kind of aftermarket controller I would put on it. So I'm pricing it out with the Onefinity controller included with the machine. This does not include a display. The LongMill machine comes with the controller. It's priced into the machine, and it does not really have a display either. And we'll get into displays in a little bit later in the video. So the touch probe is considerably more expensive on the Onefinity than the LongMill, but it does have an advantage, I think, over the LongMills. So I'll get into that on why I like the touch probe better on the Onefinity. And then the dust boots. Onefinity has 3 different dust boots available, and I picked the basic one, which is most comparable to the dust boot that comes with the LongMill. There's only one choice on the LongMill, and they're pretty close in price. Shipping is about double, $99 compared to $51 on the Onefinity, but I don't know the exact weights, but the Onefinity is going to be considerably more substantial as far as the weight, because it's basically built with steel. The LongMill is built with aluminum, so I'm sure the difference in shipping, they're probably just charging you what it really costs to ship on both machines. So looking at $25.87, outfitted pretty much the same way, $25.87 compared to $15.63, and it's a difference of $1,000. So what we have to do is figure out, is the Onefinity $1,000 better machine than what the LongMill is? So that's what we're going to try and figure out. Okay, so let's get into some of the specs between the two different machines. So on the cutting range, the Onefinity's 32.25 by 32.25 by 5.25. The LongMill's 32.28 by 34.17 and 4.49. So the y-axis is a little bit better by almost 2 inches on the LongMill, and the z-axis is 3/4 of an inch better on the Onefinity. So depends on what you're looking at, your big pieces and stuff. I mean, I guess it's possible you could have a piece that could go between 32.25 and 34.17. I think you're more likely, if you're getting into the 3D carving, that 5.25 versus the 4.49 is going to be a advantage, just to give that little extra height if you're doing some 3D carving. So that's pretty much a wash right there, but I do like the extra height on the z-axis. The controller, the Onefinity does not require you to have a PC. It's got the CAM software already built into the controller. So all you have to do really is just put your G code onto a USB drive and plug it into the machine, and then you use your touch screen to control your machine from that point to do all your zeroing out and then to actually run your G-code on the machine. The LongMill does not have the CAM software built into it, so you have to have a PC hooked up to it. And then the one other thing for the Onefinity is you can also, if you have your controller hooked up to either to the Wi-Fi or to a network through an Ethernet cord, you can send your G-code and everything from a computer as long as it's connected to that same network. So you can be inside the shop or the office or inside your house if you're doing this in your garage, and you can send your G-code through your PC through the network. You don't have to actually even put a USB drive into the machine. Rails, this is a big deal to me from my research anyway. So the rails for the Onefinity, you got the hardened steel hollow linear motion shafts. That's from their website. And then the LongMill uses custom aluminum extrusions. So on the LongMill, it's basically it looks like a piece of angle iron, aluminum, and it's set up on its side to give it rigidity, and then it has these Doublereno V wheels that ride on top of that. It's still, I think that after time, these V wheels can get some play in them and some wear, and from what I heard too, there's quite a few of them on there, and they have to be adjusted quite often. So that to me is kind of a disadvantage over these the steel shafts with it actually has a steel bearing that goes around the shafts. So it would have very little play in it, should have very little wear as long as you do maintenance on it, and the maintenance is pretty easy. It's a little regimen of oiling the shafts and the bearings and all that stuff. So I think your accuracy and your rigidity is going to be better with the setup on the Onefinity. The motors, they both use the same router, and you can put different routers in, get different connectors or different holders for the routers, but they were all set up to run on the Makita router. And then the stepper motors, I could not find good information on the stepper motors from either one of their websites. The only thing that I did find, that if you go up to the X-50 Onefinity, which is the one that I'm looking at, over the X-35, it just says that it has an upgraded stepper motor. So I'm making the assumption, but I don't know this for fact, and if anyone has more information on that, I'd love to see it, that the stepper motor is probably going to be bigger and more powerful on the Onefinity, but I don't know that for fact. Travel screws, so neither one of them use belts. They both use screws, but the LongMill uses a lead screw. The Onefinity uses a ball screw, and a ball screw is way more accurate than a lead screw. So that's a big advantage right there. So when you talk about the shafts and the bearings and the ball screw, this Onefinity machine is going to be pretty tight. It's going to have really good tolerances. It's not going to run out on you as much as what a LongMill would. The LongMill is going to do great, I think. I really think both of them are great machines. But I think your accuracy and the rigidity of the machine is going to be a big advantage on the Onefinity. And I think that's kind of where you have to start weighing this difference in the $1,000 extra. Are you willing to pay $1,000 extra to have that better rigidity and, I'm assuming, less maintenance and run out over time as you use the machine? You know, this setup is good, but as these wheels, these V wheels start wearing, you're going to have to do some maintenance on it, or maybe replace those V wheels at some point. So that's kind of where your $1,000 really kind of starts coming in. The big differences there. And then the G-code, I really couldn't find good information on the G-code. I know that the LongMill uses its GRBL. I don't really know a whole lot about that other than you send G-code to the machine and it operates it, but I think this one just uses a universal G-code, and then this one uses GRBL. And I've read several different articles, and it's one of those things that, you know, some people are in both camps and what they like. I don't know enough about it to make an informed decision on that. So let's start getting into some of the options on each of the machines now. So now I'm going to show you what I found on the two different touch probes. So this is just simulated. This is a board here, and both the touch probes look the same on the bottom. This is the underside of it, and it's got this little ledge. This is cut out here, and basically you just take this thing. This is showing it upside down, but just so you can see what it does, and you just line it up right here onto your board, and that's how you put it. Whatever you're going to cut, that's you line that thing up like that. So they both line up the same way. So if you have that, get these out of the way. So if you take either one of these things and put it on the board, we'll go with the LongMill one first. So if you take this thing and put it on the board, it's going to end up looking something like this from the top. Now, this little circle, all you do is you take your bit and you bring it to somewhere inside this circle right here, and then you tell it to look for your Z-axis, and it goes down and it touches the top of it and finds your Z-axis, and then it's going to find your X and Y too. But when it does that, it goes over and it drops down over here at the side, and then it goes up and then it bumps the side of the block, and then it comes back up and it comes over on the other side, and then it comes out and then it bumps up to the block, and that gets your X, Y, and Z. The Onefinity is basically the same design, but the circle where it picks up from is on the inside corner. The LongMill is on the outside corner. The Onefinity is on the outside corner, or inside corner. Outside corner, inside corner. Now the problem that you run into with a LongMill is that, say if you have this thing, it's a big board and you're right up close to your rails, there may not be enough room for it to get over here, and there may not be enough travel for this thing to get over here and then to get this axis, or if it's all the way to the front, say it's a big piece or whatever, you just like working at the front, it can't get all the way up here. The travel's not far enough to come up and get this axis right here. So let's move this one out of the way and show you what I think this was a good design feature that they did with the Onefinity. So they put it so this one's going to sit about right here. So now you come down, you line your spindle up or your tool up in the circle. It just has to be anywhere within this circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. So it comes down and it gets your Z-axis, and then it comes out. It'll go there to get your Z, and then it'll come out here, and it'll come out, it'll come down, and then it'll bump here, it'll come back up, come over here, and it'll bump there, and get all three axes that way. But it's on the inside of your thing, so it's calculating. It knows the difference between here and here, so it sets your 0 to here, but it does it from here. This one, the LongMill, picks it from here and moves it inside. So you don't have to worry about a travel problem. So you can put your board all the way to the edge of your cutting range, and you can still zero all your axis out with this thing being in the middle as opposed to the corner. So they're really almost identical, other than the fact of where the spot is located on where you zero in from. So I like the advantage over that. It was considerably more expensive. It was almost 3 times the cost, like 92 compared to 27, I think. But I do like that feature, the way they put and the LongMill may end up changing that, I don't know. But right now I like the Onefinity one better for that. I could see that being an issue. If you probably not going to run into it so much, probably not going to have boards that are going to be exactly 32 inches wide. But I think I would like working on the front of my machine where I can see it better, have more control. Not more control, but I would like it to be up at the front of the machine. And what I've seen in some videos, people have to put blocks in and step their part back from the front of the machine to use the LongMill touch probe. So anyway, that's an advantage to me on the Onefinity. So now let's move on to the dust boots real quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because these dust boots, you're not really going to know which one works best till you actually try them out. So you're just going to have to go with what they have, probably depending on what machine you have. So this one here, the advantage I like on the Onefinity is that this thing mounts right here onto the rail, and it really doesn't stick out any farther than what your rail does. So it's not going to limit your motion left to right at all. This one right here, it mounts off to the side. They're both magnetic mount. This mounts permanently. I say permanently. Once it's on there, and then this thing is magnetic. The base part is magnetic, so you can pop it in and out. This one right here, the whole thing has a magnet, or it magnetically attaches to this bracket right here. But this bracket sticks out. I think it's 50 millimeters if I'm correct from what I read on it. So it's going to limit your travel to the right by that much space, by that 50 millimeters. It's going to reduce your travel to the right by 50 millimeters. So the upgraded one of this version here, the Onefinity, this one is the only version they have, and I think they have made improvements to this one. You can't really see it right here, but it has a little piece of plastic where you can see your bit right there. I think they replaced that piece of plastic and just put brush all the way across it, and then there's an opening in the back and they put brush across it too. So it's a solid brush similar to what this one is now. And then this one has an upgraded version that has plates that attach into the bottom. One is a 1 inch, one is a 2 inch. A 1 inch would be for your regular router bits, 2 inch would be for your servicing bits that are wider. And then so I like the fact this one doesn't limit your travel any. I like the fact that this one is off to the side. If the travel wasn't an issue, I like it being off to the side because you have better vision of your bit and your cutting surface. This one, once your hose is attached, it's going to be blocking you from the front, but you just have to get off to the side to be able to see your bit. So that's pretty much it on those. The base model's pretty close in cost, so that's kind of a wash as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to use this to make my decision on what machine I buy. Okay, just a couple more quick things and I'll be done with this. I know this video is kind of long. The assembly time on these. The Onefinity states that they're about 1 hour for assembly time. LongMill states they're about 2 hours. From everything I've read in forums and videos I've watched, Onefinity is probably a little bit less than an hour. I've had some people have said that they've had their machines put together and up and running within an hour. The LongMill, they say 2 hours. I've heard people say it's anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, just depending on, I guess, how good you are and how mechanically inclined you are to put the thing together. But there's a lot more assembly. You have to assemble all the legs. You have to put all this together. You have to mount the mounts here. And these things, I think, pretty much come with these 3 rails already put together, and you just have to assemble them together and mount it to your board. So you're going to have a little bit more time. Neither one of them are bad, but the Onefinity will be a little bit quicker to assemble. And then lead times on ordering. These things are real popular right now. So the Onefinity is saying on their website for this woodworker right now, they're saying 6 to 8 weeks from the time you order it. And this is the 10th of January right now. So you're looking at, probably realistically, maybe by the, January, February, maybe the end to middle of February, if you're lucky, middle to end of February. And then the LongMill, they're retooling and gathering supplies because they changed this model to this MK2. And they're saying that they're hoping to begin production if they get all their parts in by the middle of this month. And they're looking at probably 1st of March before they start shipping machines out. And so that's if you're in their queue. So I don't know. I'm guessing it'd probably take you a little bit longer to get the LongMill right now, just because they're not retooling, but they're changing their machine, so they're getting their production for the newer machine up and running. So probably going to take you a little bit longer to get the LongMill, but probably not a tremendous amount of difference. Either one of them, you're going to end up waiting probably close to 2 months at least before you get the machine delivered. So that's pretty much it. So I really would like, and I know this is not all inclusive. I didn't cover every feature on these things. Just to kind of go over, I like the rails system on this. I like the fact that it's got bearings that slide on these solid steel rails, not solid steel, but hollow steel rails. I think it's going to be more stable. This is the extruded aluminum here. It's just turned up on an angle, and you mount these little legs to hold it in place. And it's got 4 legs on each one, so it should still be pretty stable. And this is basically the same thing back here, but it's 2 pieces bolted together to give it extra stability. And then you can't really see it in the picture, but it's got these little V-rails or V-wheels that it just rides along the top of this extruded aluminum surface. So both of them probably really good and stable, but I think this design is probably going to be a little more stable. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I really would like feedback from other people that have purchased these machines, or maybe done some research and some of the other things, like maybe the stepper motors and or maybe the G code that maybe some of y'all maybe know more than I do. on that stuff. I'd love to hear what your opinions are on it. So leave me comments down below. You can go down to my Facebook page if you need to contact me. There'll be a contact link in my Facebook page, and that's down in the description. So anyway, I really appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, and then hopefully I'll make another video when I make a decision, when I actually get the machine ordered. And I'm also working on getting the table set up and all that. So I'll do some videos of my table set up once I got the machine ordered, and we'll follow along once we get the machine. Of course, we'll do an assembly video, and then we'll start running the machine. I can't wait. Appreciate you watching. Thank you. Bye.